Welcome to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom. I'm Jason Lupo, sitting here with my co-hosts, Aaron Lujan,
Konnichiwa.
and our special guest today, just a guy, Jim Miller.
Hello, hello.
And we have a couple interesting stories coming out in the health space, or as we would say,
He's opening up a can of Celsius right now. You guys, this is very unpolished, spiritual and
Celsius is not.
the fitness side of things and the health side and the family thing. COVID vaccine boosters called into question by FDA chief, void of data. This article published on April 30th by Melissa Rudy on Fox News. FDA Commissioner Makary calls for more data on shots' effectiveness. The FDA chief has called into question whether the agency will approve and authorize the COVID-19 vaccine for winter. In August 2024, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the updated mRNA COVID vaccine to protect against the current variants, and also approved an updated Novavax vaccine. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary, however, has expressed doubts about whether it is necessary for the 2025-2026 season. We're taking a look. I can't comment on any particular application. As you know, we have a bunch of applications for those booster shots, Makary told CBS News on Tuesday, as the outlet reported. I think there's a void of data, and I think rather than allow that void to be filled with opinions, I'd like to see some good data, he added. Makary also mentioned a public trust problem surrounding the COVID boosters, noting that many healthcare workers opted out of receiving them last season. FDA chief has also expressed concerns about the lack of data supporting Novavax COVID vaccine, calling for more studies into its effectiveness before approving it. The big Novavax 2020-2021 study excluded people with natural immunity to COVID. Today, there's a broad population immunity, and the big question is, does it provide any benefit? He said in an interview with Inside Medicine on Tuesday.
You guys remember Lil Jon? Okay. What? He had a song called Shots, right?
Yes.
So the Democrat Party or the federal government should partner with Lil Jon and promote the shots with the song Shots.
I think that's a departure from what is this current administration's plan, which is not promote the shot.
Right. This was a recommendation for the Biden administration.
Okay.
You missed an opportunity. No, in all seriousness, RFK is doing RFK-ish things. He's, talking about actual science, and he's pointing to studies, and he's looking at hard data, and he's making very reasonable conclusions. And we are having this conversation under the shadows of a global crime syndicate known as the pharmaceutical industry that has unlimited resources and unlimited power, and has been waging an information war in this country for decades, because they are a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I think we need to be praying, and we need to be supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, I mean, when you approve vaccines via emergency order and you allow them to be fast-tracked through the FDA, when the crisis is over, then we need to go back and reapproach and look at the safety and efficacy of these drugs that are being pushed. And I think that we failed to do that because we just continued this trend of push more drugs, more vaccines.
100%. I mean, you're talking about it like the way it is in like the real world. You broke down on the side of the road. There's an emergency that needs to be done now. You patched everything up with some baling wire, duct tape, whatever little random parts and tools you had to do the job to make it work to get the vehicle back on the road. And you're supposed to do the proper repairs once you get home and everything's okay-ish and you're in a better condition. A lot of stuff with these vaccines, though, I mean, I don't really have a yay or a nay part on it, honestly, with a lot of vaccines, but let's be realistic. I mean, there's even stuff with like the flu shots and stuff showing that it's not beneficial for older people, and lots of studies and things that happen with a lot of these different shots and vaccines. And, there's the autistic argument, and then deficiencies and making people's immune systems not as strong and making them susceptible to other diseases and viruses and things. So, and bacterias and, I don't know. There's a lot of spokes on this wheel. This is a very, very, very touchy subject, very controversial subject. But anything worth talking about is going to be controversial and very in-depth and very, very argumentative. Argumentative, that's not even a word. You're welcome.
Well, it's like
I'm argumented.
Argumented. Augmented. I'm argutive, you know.
He says something very interesting. He says today there's broad population immunity, and the big question is, does it provide a benefit? I mean, we talked about herd immunity in depth during the COVID crisis, and the fact that at some point we were going to see herd immunity. And as we know, with these viruses, they adapt and change, just like we've seen with, we've seen it with the flu vaccine and with the flu. Like, at the end of the day, they're taking a what they call an educated guess on what the strain of the flu is that's going to be hitting the American public every year, and sometimes they get it wrong. They can't guarantee they know what flu virus is going to be the popular flu virus that's infecting everybody that year. I mean, you're taking a gamble, and so here we are. We're past the original COVID-19. How do we know whether we're taking another guess?
Yeah, and the problem I have with a lot of these articles, where did this article come from, Jason?
This is from Fox News.
Okay. Yeah, Fox News. Okay. So they cite the United States Food and Drug Administration as this legitimate institution that somehow lends credibility to the argument against RFK. I mean, is that the way that you interpret it?
No. This is the FDA chief that is fighting the COVID vaccines. This is Trump's FDA chief.
This is Trump's FDA
that is backing RFK Jr.
Okay, that's good.
They're
that's
working with him instead of trying to fight him.
Okay, so then there's a new sheriff in town.
Like, maybe we need to get you headphones.
Maybe, or maybe
that vaccine you just took.
I'm on my 8th booster.
Well, I don't know.
I doubt it.
Immunization has a long history with our country too, to be honest with you. We learned it from the Native Americans during the Revolutionary War. We would have lost without immunizations and stuff. I don't know, but I kind of differentiate vaccines, immunizations, and then kind of I don't know. There's a lot of stuff with this. I don't know, but I think he's on the right track with it. You know, being skeptical of it, looking into it further, I think is always the right route with any of these things, especially with vaccines and things that were pushed through so fast that there's not a lot of data. I mean, there's only a few years of it. What's it showing us? There's not a lot of time to really show us true results.
Well, here we have another article, Fox News, RFK Jr. to require all new vaccines to undergo placebo testing. Health and Human Services says the radical policy change will promote greater transparency in new vaccines, by Bonnie Chu and Stephen Soros. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is requiring all new vaccines to undergo placebo-controlled trials, and a policy change the agency described as a radical departure from past practices. Under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, all new vaccines will undergo safety testing in a placebo-controlled trials prior to licensure, a radical departure from past practices, an HHS spokesperson said to Fox News Digital on Thursday. HHS suggested that childhood-recommended vaccines listed under the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, for instance, should be tested. Except for the COVID vaccine, none of the vaccines on the CDC's childhood-recommended schedule was tested against inert placebo, meaning we know very little about the actual risk profiles of these products, the HHS spokesperson says. Placebo testing, which involves volunteers receiving dummy injections, such as saline shots, is already a common practice for new pathogens. Updated versions of proven protective immunizations, however, often do not undergo new placebo trials and are instead tested against existing vaccines. Some health experts have raised concerns about conducting placebo trials, arguing that such tests could expose people to illnesses that otherwise could have been prevented. Vaccine trial designs can raise challenging ethical questions, especially regarding the use of placebo controls when an efficacious vaccine exists. A 2014 World Health Organization report published on the National Institute of Health website says the risk of using a placebo control may be ethically justified even when an efficacious vaccine exists if the trial is in settings where vaccine supplies are limited, where vaccines remain investigational, and or where public health recommendations for use of these vaccines have not been made, according to an article from the European Society of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Disease, also on a NIH website citing a trial from pharmaceutical companies. I mean, essentially these pharmaceutical companies and the radical left are fighting this change because not giving somebody the vaccine in a trial could open them up to getting the disease.
Liberal logic 101.
Liberal logic. So instead of making sure that we protect the health and well-being of children and adults in this country by making sure that vaccines are safe, instead, we're just going to give out the vaccine because the risk of the vaccine does not outweigh the risk of the disease. I know 0 people that ever died of the chicken pox, and I know a lot of people that had the chicken pox because I grew up in an era when we didn't have chicken pox vaccines and nobody died. So somebody getting the chicken pox while we wait to make sure that the chicken pox vaccine is ethical
Yeah.
or is appropriate or it works.
Commercial for measles, it's been popping up. I'm stronger than measles. Some little kid popping up with the measles. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. How liable are these pharmaceutical companies and these vaccines that they make? Or they have immunity because
Presently,
yes.
they have immunity.
Yes. Legal
So
immunity.
then there's no consequence for them dishing out garbage
No.
to you or poisons.
It's called a beautiful business model if you're on the side of the.
Jeez, wow, you can just profit off just giving out just whatever. Be like, oh, whatever, dude. Gonna have like nerve damage or some brain damage.
I want legal immunity with my driver's license, so like I could drive drunk whenever I want.
Right, it's like the city with potholes.
Like I get pulled over. Oh yeah, you got it all wrong, man. I got legal immunity. Here's my card.
Yeah.
Like okay, sorry.
It's like the city with the potholes. Or
Here's another beer.
You drive through a pothole and it breaks your car, and it's like, oh, we're not liable for that. And you're like, I paid you the tax money for this crap.
Can we put this in the perspective of this is modern human sacrifice?
Sure.
That we are legitimately sacrificing children in an effort to like redeem or make sure that the global health is okay. Like it's okay if a few kids die in the process of taking these vaccines because we're going to eradicate a virus from the world. Like essentially this is child sacrifice.
Yeah, especially when you consider that the World Health Organization wanted to force vaccinate our children without our consent. RFK called this global medical tyranny, and he pledged to pull the U.S. out of the WHO. And if you know anything about globalist organizations, they're generally the chairman of the board is El Diablo, Satan. Lucifer.
Yeah, I mean, we have long history across the globe of different cultures sacrificing children when they're in the midst of famine or drought or disease to supposedly tell the gods, not the God, gods singular, that they wanted out of the drought or out of the famine or out of whatever it is that struck their nation, and so they sacrificed children. This is what we are doing. We're saying like we will sacrifice these children in an attempt to restore global health.
It's an excellent point, and I also like that Robert F. Kennedy makes a constitutional argument against vaccines. Quote, forcing experimental drugs on people violates Nuremberg Code. Biden's mandates were criminal, and I'll pardon every victim. RFK is the man. I love RFK.
Well, and we're staring down the fact that Fauci is looking at several criminal trials, and it's,
Wasn't he already like pre-pardoned though by Ding Dong by
yeah, but that's every
geriatric Biden?
and I think that's why states have decided that they're going to try to go after Fauci because federally, Biden has given him a
little cloak of
clear
protection. Yeah.
Correct, but a federal pardon
Some
does
Dungeons
not
and Dragons
exist
story.
for a state crime, and so these states are trying to go after him. It's very interesting. He also has a contempt charge, I believe, coming up as well, which I think the pardon would cover that, but lying under oath is what he's. I think I saw that
None
news
of
article
these-
yesterday.
None of these part of the establishment, the system types, ever seem to be really held accountable for anything. It's insane. They just do willy-nilly stuff. They're either elected or they're appointed by elected officials. Then you see very limited go to prison, jail, prosecuted, any real trial, any like, oh, I got to pay restitution back to the people, or I wasted all their money and their time, so I got to pay it back. You don't ever see like anything. And if there is a thing, it's like, oh, they did bad. And that's it. And that's the end of it.
All
When I
right.
said willy-nilly, I thought of Willie Nelson. He should rename himself willy-nilly. Rebrand. Sorry, I think I'm on the spectrum, guys.
It's all right.
All right, we're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. Don't go anywhere. Hang with us.
Willy-nilly.
I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
All right, and what you just heard was a Trump's address to the joint session of Congress. Trump and his Health and Human Services have doubled down on this plan to block gender dysphoria treatments. Here's another article from Melissa Rudy on Fox News. Gender dysphoria treatments pose significant risks to kids and teens. Health Human Services report reveals. New report shares serious concerns about gender-related medical interventions. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on Thursday released a comprehensive review of best practices for children and teens with gender dysphoria. The report, titled Treatment for Pediatric Gender Dysphoria, Review of Evidence and Best Practices, was published by the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health and Office of Population Affairs. This review, informed by an evidence-based medicine approach, reveals serious concerns about medical interventions such as puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries that attempt to transition children and adolescents away from their sex, stated a press release from HHS. These types of gender-affirming treatments are recommended by the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. I cannot believe that's a thing. The report highlights evidence of risks associated with gender-related treatments such as irreversible infertility, sexual dysfunction, reduced bone density, adverse cognitive impairs, cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, psychiatric disorders, surgical complications, and regret. It also cites very weak evidence of benefit. Author also called into question the ethics surrounding medical interventions for children and teens with gender dysphoria. HHS believes the medical ethics should be central in this debate, the release said. A team of medical doctors, medical ethicists, and a methodologist contributed to the review, according to HHS. Contributors represent a wide range of political viewpoints and were chosen for their commitment to scientific principles.
I wish I had a friend that was an ethicist. He'd be like the most dependable guy to like get you out of a jam if you're like had a flat tire or something.
Medical ethicist.
Ethicist. Like, what do you do for a living? I'm an ethicist.
I thought that's somebody that like studies ethics.
Yeah, no, he's probably very ethical.
Yeah.
I,
Head ethicist by ethical definition.
no, I'm an esthetician. I think it's important, since we're on spiritual insurgency, to address the transgender issue head on. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I want to remind people this is rebellion against God's order. In Genesis 1:27, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. I think this rejection of biological sex is seen as Satan's attempt to distort God's creation. So understand, we're not dealing with political footballs. We're dealing with a spiritual warfare. I also think this ties into the spirit of confusion and deception, that in the last days, we're promised that there will be lots of deception. In 1 Corinthians 14:33, for God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. So it would be a demonic strategy to take this idea called gender ideology or self-identification over biological reality. And this is destroying people. This is giving puberty blockers, surgeries, mental health crises, suicide rates post-transition are really high. And there's a connection to the occult. If we look at ancient pagan religions, especially in the Babylonian cults of Ishtar, they worshipped androgynous and transgender deities. So this queer theory denies fixed categories, mirroring Luciferian idea called breaking of boundaries. And then I think of the drag queen story hour. It's very ritualistic. This grooming is very Mark 9:42. So I think what we need to keep in mind, church, is that this is very much a spiritual battle. This transgender ideology.
Yeah, I think 100%. And we look at it, and we are made in God's image, fearfully and wonderfully made. I mean, we are knit in our mother's womb, and all of that is just being spat on by the leftist liberal groups that are trying to just completely corrupt our children of this nation.
So these are all minors, right? Under the age of 18.
Yes.
This whole thing. So okay, it's almost, just bear with me a little bit. This sounds a little interesting, but just listening to it, it's almost like breeding a bunch of jackasses, in the sense of they're non-breedable. You can't breed a jackass. You don't just get a herd of jackasses. It's a donkey and a horse, right? Then you get some that can't breed, can't do nothing else. It's just pointless. It's just sitting there doing pointless nothing.
So that's why we call people a jackass.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about it. And it's
Okay.
it's the whole tail wagging the dog here too. It's here's a bunch of kids, oh, they're in charge, and they don't know anything yet. They don't know right from wrong. They don't know anything. They all want to be trendy and neat and popular for some kind of garbage nonsense as usual. So I don't know if is it like an abortion after the abortion time's up? So they're just like, oh, here, make them pointless kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because they get all about all that crap. So is that what it is? Is this some kind of, oh, we couldn't abort them, we missed the timeline, so now make them to where they can't breed, they're non-fertile. It's a big crapshoot mess of pills and hack jobs from butcher lawyers going, let me cut off some genitalia, let me sew on some genitalia, here's some pills, oh boy, here you go. Because it wasn't but a few years ago that most of this was considered a mental condition, not some kind of be all save all weirdness. Or is it a population control to keep the population to a certain density or something? I don't know.
I picked D.
It seems like it's kind of just like some kind of abortion after abortion timeline.
All of the above.
It seems pretty grimy, dude.
Here's another one. Whole milk should be back at schools. Experts say nutrition science has evolved. More from the MAHA organization. Senate Agriculture Committee held a hearing Tuesday morning on the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act 2025, which would revise requirements for milk provided by the National School Lunch Program of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Current USDA regulations require milk to be fat-free or low-fat and allow milk to be flavored or unflavored. Bill modifies these restrictions and instead permits school to offer students whole, reduced fat, low-fat, and fat-free flavored and unflavored milk, legislation summary says. Since 2012, whole and reduced fat 2% milk has been banned from schools' meals due to saturated fat and calorie content, according to the Associated Press. Matt Herrick, International Dairy Food Association Executive Vice President and Chief Impact Officer, told Fox News Digital that milk is one of the most nutritious, complete whole foods available. Herrick added milk is more than 90% water plus a minimal amount of healthy fat, and the rest are essential nutrients: protein, calcium, phosphorus, vitamin A, vitamin D, B2, B3, B5, B12, iodine, potassium, selenium, and zinc. That's it. He continued, when Americans shop at the grocery store, 83% of shoppers purchase whole and 2% milk for their families, meaning this is what children are getting at home. U.S. Department of Agriculture recommended that children aged 2 and older consume some amount of dairy milk daily. Pediatric nutritionist, clinical practitioner Keith T. Ayub testified on Capitol Hill advocating for the passage of the bill. Ayub shared in his testimony that lawmakers previously removed whole and reduced fat milk to keep saturated fat levels in schools meals below 10% on average to help reduce the risk of health disease. I mean, this was a long time attempt to deal with the obesity crisis in America, which now we've just said, we're not going to deal with the obesity crisis. We're just going to make doorways wider, and we don't body shame and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, we have
fat, go to the gym, go for a walk.
We can't say that anymore in this
Come to
country.
the store and take a walk to the Walmart.
That's not a thing in this country anymore.
That's insane.
But like here we have once again Maha coming in, going, Maha,
Make America healthy again.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're twinsies.
And we have
Somebody owes someone a Coke.
we have Maha coming in and going like, we now have new research. It's time to evolve, and I think that's been the long problem in the scientific community for so long is we have new research that proves old research invalid or no longer relevant, or we've come up with new
biased.
information, and then it takes 30 or 40 years to change the status quo, and yet we continue to make children suffer.
Got milk?
I don't know. The government's so involved filthily with the agricultural thing that sometimes it makes me skeptical about it. But I drink whole milk. That's what I buy.
Yeah.
Look, you want it to be less fatty, and you can just add some water to it yourself.
My
Got more
milkshake
milk.
brings all the boys in the yard and that, right?
We need to actually legalize raw milk in this country and get rid of pasteurization, because the reason why we see such an increase in lactose intolerance is because we have decided to pasteurize milk,
Fun
and we
fact
filled
about
out the
pasteurized
lactase.
milk.
Hashtag fun fact on Spoiler Show and
Fun
Surgeon
fact
Zoo.
about pasteurized milk, that's an Al Capone thing he did. Expiration dates of pasteurized
Got
milk.
some
and
milk
his
for you.
sister died of bad milk.
Meet me in the alley at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It's linked to Al
pasteurize
Capone.
this.
There's going to be some Amish guys.
He's
Welsh
Al
guys.
Capone's over there. It's time to pasteurize these guys.
It's pasteurize
right
these
now.
Pasteurize them.
No, but I don't know, man. It's milk. Buy and drink and do what you're gonna do.
Get milk.
I don't know for everybody being healthy. I might laugh about a fat person running around and the fat jiggling and stuff, because it looks hilarious, but I'll never make fun of you for trying to improve yourself and make yourself healthier and more fit and physically able by any means.
Now, what if he's running too
milk
hard?
and stuff, just whatever, man. I get whole milk. It's milk. I don't know. Seems a little ridiculous to make such a big politicized point about it. Sounds like some Michael Obama crap.
Well, yeah.
Here's some bland food. It's super healthy, but it's been made by like 20 freaking machines. And you're like, just give the kid an apple and a banana. Relax. What the fun? Stop giving him all this stuff from the machine. The milk is fine. That's not the problem. It's that they're going there, sitting there on the interweb all day doing interweb stuff instead of running around throwing rocks and
On the
fighting
tubes.
other kids in the neighborhood like they're supposed to do.
Get off the tubes. Get on your bike.
Right?
Well, as we see, Maha has moved in a positive direction, as you've seen through today's show. We will continue to follow it. I mean, what Robert F. Kennedy is doing, RFK Jr. is doing in this realm to try to make America healthy again
See
and
Robert F.
fix
Kennedy
our
Jr.
food.
Punch Fauci in the throat.
I would love to see that. I don't think we're going to, but
Pay-per-view.
Celebrity Fight Night could be back.
Go RFK Jr. I'm putting my money on him. He'll beat the piss out of
Have you seen that guy? He just like eats. I mean, in his run up to president, like right before he dropped out, he has a video of him picking up a rattlesnake, just like relocating a rattlesnake, just bare hands, just like, hi, little rattler.
I'm in your way. Hold on. Just move it over. You're like, dude, nice. I like it.
But anyways, this has been Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. We will see you next time. God
Peace.
bless.
Want it better, be better.